Bill and Pam Farrel, welcome to Live Like It's True.
Hi.
So good to be with you, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
I feel like super privileged to get this time with you. You guys are like veterans of the ministry world. I was reading through your bio. I think you've done it all. I don't know, but it looks that way to me.
We haven't done a podcast because we've
Oh.
been doing caregiving for the last decade, and we were going to launch a YouTube channel, and we got like a couple sessions in, and Bill's dad started spiraling down. So that's still on the agenda. We want to grow up and be you, Shannon.
Oh, come on. Yeah, no. Well, this is, having you on the other end of the podcast mic is just such a treat. So let me just tell our listeners a little bit about you in case you're not familiar to them. You guys together have written over 60 books. And the one that is most familiar to me is this one. Men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. I heard you speak on this years ago. I think it was on Focus on the Family. And I was like, oh, that is just so intuitively, yes, I get that. And such a helpful resource, but so many other books. And Bill, you have been a pastor. You've served as a youth pastor, a lead pastor, small groups pastor with David Jeremiah at the Shadowback Mountain Church. So, a rich experience, on the pastorate level. And then Pam too, in church ministry, women's ministry director. But now it seems like, are you mostly focusing on relationships, helping people with relationships?
We are. Bill has a full docket of relationship coaching. So he works one-on-one or with couples or families, which he's like just super gifted at. You'll hear a little bit later why, because like we come from crazy, so crazy doesn't scare us. Yeah, and broken, dysfunction, all that. So helping people get healthy and helping their relationships be healthy. That's why our ministry is called Lovewise. We like to say we park ourselves on the corner of God's love and God's wisdom. And we have a nonprofit, and it carries the theme verse,
which is Proverbs 19:8. The one who gets wisdom loves life.
We all want to love life.
Yeah, and that's been a theme of our life, I think, ever since we got married. Like when we got married, we realized we love Jesus, we love each other, and we have no idea what we're doing.
Right.
We started trying to figure out, how does this thing work? Like we both grew up in homes we couldn't just emulate the homes we grew up in. We love our parents, and we knew our parents loved us, but we were like, there's too much unhealthy going on here, and we have to figure out, how do you have a healthy relationship, and how do you raise a healthy family? And that's been a pursuit of ours now for over 4 decades, trying to figure that out.
So when we read something in the Bible, our biggest question is, okay, yes, we want to obey, but how? What does it look like?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you fit right in here, because this is like, live like it's true. We want our lives to align with what the truth of the Bible. So, so important. And I have one getting married this summer. So I don't remember if I told you that. Pam and I had a car ride a few months back, which is what prompted this whole conversation. And I can't remember if I shared, it's my first time, having one walk the aisle. And I think both of these kids come from really strong Christian homes. And yet still we feel like, oh man, there's so much, I don't know. And I don't know what to tell them. It's just like this huge step of faith, walking that aisle, not knowing what's on the other side of it, but knowing God,
where to start. And it's always a step of faith, even if you come from great, healthy homes, Christian values, as a foundation, it's still a step of faith, because to make a marriage work every day, each person needs to walk lockstep with Jesus. Yes. It's all about Jesus. And he's like that super glue that can get you through anything. And we did learn something on our first, when our first son got married, because he was also young. We were young when we got married. We were 20, and Brock and Hannah were 20 and 21. And both senior year Liberty. So they got married before their senior year. So we realized, okay, my job as a mother-in-law is, when they share something about their plan for the wedding, say, that sounds great, or that is interesting. how much do you want me to make the check for? Yeah. And other than that, I probably don't want your opinion.
Thank you for that tip. I will receive that in love. That's really good advice. So,
Yeah.
well, and okay, so how old are your kids now? Because that really plays into this conversation,
Yeah.
parenting.
Our oldest will be 41 this year. No, he will be 42. He'll be 42 in December.
He has their kids are the tween to our oldest granddaughter is going to be a senior in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Our next son will be 40 on his next birthday.
And his kids are in the elementary school age.
And then we have a 35-year-old.
And their kids are like little babies and toddlers.
Okay. And I love how Pam's filling in. Yeah. And about the babies too.
Right.
It's so important. It's such a joy.
Payoff of being patient, especially with your teens and adult kids.
Exactly. Didn't you say like the blessing? Tell me that blessing again. If it's
the blessing of being patient with your teens and adult kids is grandkids. Yeah.
Yes, and not killing them, right?
Right?
It's like they survived you. Well, one of the things in this topic that my mind keeps coming back to, we're in this judgy series, talking about the problems that we believers have with judging one another, feeling judged by one another, and the division and the strife that this creates, not only in our families, but in our churches and in our communities. And how can we respond, in a godly way? What does God teach about judgment and mercy? And so one of the things that I keep hearing, people keep sending me articles about, and just talking with friends who are going through it, is this new trend to go no contact or very low contact with your parents.
Right.
So it's like we have adult children who are saying, no, thank you. My mom is toxic. My dad is a narcissist, and we're just going to go either no contact or very low contact. And so, like, first of all, are you guys familiar with this trend? And how do you see this as a form of us judging one another?
Definitely familiar with the trend. In fact, like, because we're out there doing marriage conferences and now doing even conferences for second half of life, so grandparents and marriage conferences with folks that are releasing adult kids, and then parenting conferences. We hear that feedback a lot. And our kids, they are helping people their age not do that radical no contact thing. They're like, no, save the relationship. Hey, try again, try this. So we're seeing our kids help their peers. And it's really quite unfortunate. Like, when Shannon, when you and I were driving in the car, I'm like, oh yes, I like totally get that, because it's like Bill and I, if anybody could have said no contact because of the craziness we came from, it would have been us. But we wanted to model from our kids, like how to be a bridge builder instead of like burning down the bridges.
Yes. Well, and I love that your kids have adopted this and they're, offering it to one another. So, Bill, what were you going to say?
Well, I think it comes across as being judgmental, but I don't think that's the core of what's happening. Like, what I think is happening is that we've not trained this generation how to honestly evaluate people who are highly influential in your life. So as parents, like when we're raising our kids, we have huge influence in our kids' lives. Kids come pre-programmed to believe everything their parents say. So we developed a strong sense of influence in their life. And later on in life, when their kids become adults, if they don't know how to evaluate that influence, then they react to it.
Okay.
And I think they become negative about it. So I actually believe one of the most important steps in adulthood is the day that you honestly evaluate your parents. Wow. And I think it's what the Bible refers to when it says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Well, in the West, we tend to interpret that as we physically leave our parents' house, we start our own house, and then we try to determine how much time we should spend with our parents. But when that verse was written, people didn't move away from their parents. It was an
Okay.
agrarian society. When you got married, you just got another portion of the property. You set up your own tent or built your own house, and you kept working with your parents every day because your livelihood depended on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaving and cleaving process, it's an evaluation.
Hmm.
Like what I think, well, I know what Pam and I did, and what I think we're supposed to do is at some point you're supposed to sit down and say, what did my parents do that was really good?
And honor them for that.
And we're going to adopt all that because our parents have such influence in our life that the things they did well become assets in our life that are easy to access. And then what did my parents not do well? Because all of us are human, amen?
Mm-hmm.
So even if we're great parents, there are areas of life that we didn't do well. And
Mm-hmm.
if our kids can say, our parents weren't really good at that, so let's release them from responsibility in that area.
And find a good role model and mentor
Right.
and learn in that area. Ask God to teach us and grow us up in that area that was a deficit in our parents' lives. Um, and by doing that, like Bill always says, like honor your father and mother doesn't mean you do everything they say,
Right.
because nobody is like perfect, as we
Mm-hmm.
mentioned.
Right.
And sometimes what our parents or grandparents say or do may not align with the word. And so what it means is take the family legacy where God designed it to go.
Hmm.
And so in that way you can keep the relationship, redefine it, um, take what's good, build on it, replace the things that are not so great, and then use that to move the family legacy forward. What happens right now in society is our kids, because they've grown up like in general in society, this age of kids have grown up digital natives. And so it used to be, if you were having problems with your parents, you could go talk to grandma and grandpa, or you could talk to
Mm-hmm.
one of their siblings, your auntie or uncle, and like try to figure out like what's going on and how can we help this and how can I fix this and how can I have a better relationship. Um it was relationship driven. You
Mm-hmm.
might go talk to your pastor.
Mm-hmm.
But now they just hop on social media, and so many influencers on social media are just like, oh, cut that toxic person off, like never see them
Mm-hmm.
again. You don't need them if they're not like, if they're not making you feel wonderful, warm, and fuzzy every moment of the day. Just like release them, get rid of them. And
Release
so
them.
they're
Yeah.
very short sighted in the area of
Mm-hmm.
relationship, those social media influencers. And unfortunately, I kind of crept into some of the counseling world. And like Bill and I know that sometimes you'll have to have boundaries, and we can talk about what that looked like in our life. But we didn't want to model for our kids, if you don't get along with somebody, just cut them out of your life. I mean, pretty soon
Right.
your life gets like really, really small.
Yes,
Right. So
absolutely.
what we're doing is we're taking the stuff we didn't do well and using it to define the whole relationship.
Right.
So
Hmm.
now we take a negative view of our parents and then we decide to break contact.
And that's sad.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and it's not necessary.
Right.
Like
Right.
again, we all had imperfect parents. And
Mm-hmm.
some parents are more difficult than others. Like that's the landscape we live in.
Mm-hmm.
But you can honestly evaluate. You can take the good, you can replace the bad, and you can keep the relationship going. But if you don't deal with the influence and you're reacting to it,
Mm-hmm.
then it leads to this conclusion of we just need to break time with them.
And if you keep
Mm-hmm.
burning down bridges, you're gonna end up with a deficit in your own life. There's things that God wants to use people for, to like
Right.
iron sharpens iron, you know?
And
Mm-hmm.
and Shannon, we know family trends tend to repeat themselves. So if kids are breaking contact with their parents, it's likely their kids are going to break contact with them.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
don't want this to keep going.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a runaway train. Well,
Yeah.
Bill, talk to me about, what do we do when we're the one who's being told there were some things that you didn't do right? I think even just that, even that much feels like my kid is judging me. They're evaluating me. So on that glorious day when my adult child decides, like, okay, this is the day I'm going to leave and cleave. I'm going to look at my parents through this lens of what the Bible holds up as true and right. And so I am now looking square in the face some of my deficits. What do I do about that?
Well, first of all, I think we need to own it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told my kids when they were leaving our house, I told them, "Hey, look, you need to sit down with your wife because we raised all boys, and feel free to evaluate Pam and I."
And even as they went away to college, we like gave them that freedom too. Like you're going to hear about different, family styles and things like that. And we know that we're not perfect. And Bill even said, when you do the evaluation, if you can't think of anything that we did wrong, we'll hand you a list
Yeah,
because
I'll
we can
start the
think of
list for
stuff
you.
that we did wrong, our shortcomings.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so like give them permission to do that and own it. If we really did do stuff that wasn't healthy, go, you know what, you're right. And I hope you find a way to replace that behavior in your adult life so that the legacy of our family gets better with each generation. And then add in, I hope you don't think it was all negative.
Right.
I
Yeah.
hope you can give me credit for the good stuff, but you have my permission to deal with the stuff that I didn't do well because I did. So I made some mistakes, and nobody trained me ahead of time how to be a parent. I was doing my best and trying to figure it out.
And even if
So
we took parenting classes, we're just like not perfect people. And so
right,
we may not apply it exactly how God would have wanted us to or whatever.
the worst thing we can do is get defensive.
Yeah.
Because if you get defensive about it, it strengthens their opinion that, yeah, I can't work with mom, I can't work with dad.
It's good to reply back something like, you know what, our relationship is changing. We're both, you're an adult now. God's calling you to become your own person. And Dad and I are really excited about that. Or if you're a single parent, I'm really excited about that. Um, and I hope you know that the foundation, the underlying intent is always been love. And I will always love you. There's nothing that you can say or do that will stop my love for you. I love you how God loves you, and that is unconditional. So it's kind of a safety net that you put under the relationship at that point. It's really hard to do, and you have to like put on all your grown up strength to do it because it hurts, when they say, something like you're toxic or you're a narcissist. And oftentimes you're like, you want to say, so when did you get your PhD in, psychology? But that is not helpful at that point. Yeah.
And it's always good to get them to define their terms if they're throwing terms at us, because we are throwing a lot of terms around.
Right.
And we're using the word narcissist with a lot of people who are just like, we're all selfish. And so sometimes that narcissistic label just gets put on selfish behavior.
Because if you've ever been in a relationship with a true narcissist, you will know it.
Yeah.
Because it is very difficult. And you will probably need professional counseling to help navigate that.
Yeah, I've encountered more than a handful of people who have said, I did not know that I was raised by narcissists. Is that maybe an indicator that they've added a label that doesn't belong?
Right. Because usually if one of the parents is a narcissist, it's usually just one, because they tend to marry somebody who's not, so they can control them. So when somebody says, I was raised by a narcissist, well, right there's a flaw probably, because only one of them probably was, if at all. If you say a selfish person, yeah, pretty much all of us were raised by people that are a little bit selfish.
Yeah. What are those labels? Go ahead.
Well, one of the things we need to, as people are trying to reach back to our kids, we need to be calm in the conversation, because the environment that our kids are growing up in, and our grandkids especially are growing up in this environment, they're getting life in snapshots. Like social media is taking these terms, throwing them out there, but they're not developing them. And so kids will pick up on this, young adults will pick up on it, and they haven't really worked through the process. Like, what does it mean to be a narcissist? What does it mean to be dysfunctional? What does it mean to be toxic? Those terms are getting thrown around without being developed.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're calm about it and we can get them to engage in conversation, like, well, that's interesting. What do you mean by that? Because if I am a narcissist, I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And between us, anybody who wants to know if they're a narcissist
Aren't.
is not a narcissist.
Okay.
Okay.
That's true.
So, so we want to try to help them grow and develop. Like I don't know if you've heard a lot about the attachment theory has become another really popular thing that's rolling around, and it's being thrown around as if it's well established and if it is the answer to why I do what I do in relationships. And and as a mom, you should know, like, attachment theory basically blames the mom. That however you related to your mom is how you're going to relate to everybody else the rest of your life. Well,
Mm.
it is a component of how people develop their theory about relationships. It's not. It's not the. It's not the defining principle,
Mm-hmm.
but it's being thrown around as if it is. So we can be of great assistance to the next generation by engaging them and
Mm-hmm.
helping them fill out their understanding of what all these things mean. But if we
Yeah.
react to it, we're just establishing that, oh yeah, they're right.
Mm. Yeah.
In our singles book, we wanted to help people like know the difference between what does love look like and what does toxic look like. And so I thought, okay, love is patient, kind, doesn't envy, does not boast, does not proud, is not rude, is not self-seeking, is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. So I thought, okay, if that is how God defines love in 1 Corinthians 13, then what would toxic be? And I thought, well, let's just turn that inside out and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic is impatient and unkind. Toxic is envious and jealous. Toxic boasts and is self glorifying. Toxic is arrogant and proud, self centered and rude. Toxic easily loses its temper and keeps track of all offenses and holds a grudge. Toxic is thrilled when people look and feel stupid. Toxic loves a mistake because he or she can tell everybody of the error and replay it over and over again. Toxic runs to evil, never protects others, and gives up on people and life easily. And so oftentimes in that whole cut off the relationship, the person that's doing that can start having some of the traits of toxic.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to do that. You want to
Right.
stay as close to that 1 Corinthians 13 as
Mm-hmm.
possible in all of your
Mm.
relationships.
That's really good because I mean, I'm just thinking, like you said, Bill, we tend to do what we've learned.
Yep.
And so if we have these generational gaps where there's just breakage, of relationship one generation after another, that is not in God's design. He designed for us to disciple, and that there would be this, like, we disciple our children, they honor us. There is a bridge between the generations, also
Mhm.
with the leave and cleave, right? We all get to reshuffle the org chart and prioritize, that leaving and cleaving. I think it's a priority statement, right? It's not a I don't belong to this family tree anymore. It's
Right.
just like, no, this is the top branch for me now, this
But
covenant.
it's a passing of the baton.
Right. And Psalms, over and over in the Psalms, you hear that principle. One generation speaks of the good works of God to the next
Yeah.
generation, to the generations to come. And so we know that it's not just cutting off a relationship, it's staying in the
Right.
family tree and learning to love like God loves in that family tree.
Well, I'm going to cut in here because we have so much more from Bill and Pam to explore together. And I don't want you to miss any of it. So we're going to cap off our conversation here. And next time we're going to hear a little bit more from Bill about the family that God redeemed Bill from. And I know you're going to want to hear that.